Here we have a beautifully restored, family-owned Allis Chalmers WD-45 gas tractor. This tractor has a serial number of 233-324. And just about a year ago, Jerry Cook called me from the Findlay, Ohio area, and he called to see if I'd be interested in restoring his dad's old Allis Chalmers WD-45 tractor. Now, this tractor has spent its entire life on the Cook family farm in Indiana, and after being purchased new by his dad from the local Allis Chalmers dealer. It's exactly like the one that my dad purchased new when I was 12 years old, except that ours had a narrow front and this one here happens to have the wide front. But as I worked on refurbishing this tractor, my mind often went back to the days of our old WD-45, the good old days, and I remember driving that 45 that was just like this one, except for the front end, in almost every field on our farm. We had several fields back then. 2 or 3 were larger fields, 60, 80 acres, and several of them were smaller type fields, but I can remember plowing and disking and harrowing, mowing, whatever the job was. I wanted to be on that old 45 and run that thing. I'd run it night and day, and when I'd come in the evening or night or whenever it was, I'd polish that tractor. I just loved it like it was a brand new $40,000 car or something. And it made me think too, as we refurbished this tractor, all the parts and time and labor that went into it. These tractors cost less than $3,000 back then, brand new. It's kind of like restoring a valuable car, say a Chevy Corvette from the mid-1950s, and how much those things are worth today as compared to what they were, their price new back then. But anyway, this was a great joy for me to experience, to refurbish this tractor for the Cook family. And it happened to be, an R45 was my favorite tractor of all time that we had here on the farm. Great memories. I'm going to change the picture here now just a little bit to show you some of the things we did to this tractor. Now, as we view this tractor, you'll notice that it's a very straight, clean tractor, and it's had very, very good care over the years. Jerry's dad took extremely good care of it. You can tell by the sheet metal. It's all very straight, hardly any dings at all in it. We did replace the rear fenders that had a few dings and wrinkles, and if you've been around old tractors, you'll know if they had fenders on, a lot of the fenders caught quite a bit of abuse back in those days. But as far as the sheet metal, that's the only thing we had to replace on this tractor. And you'll notice here too that Jerry has the original operator's manual that came with the tractor, and it's been well used. His dad apparently used it a lot to make adjustments and take care of the maintenance on it. And whereas a lot of folks back then and still today get a new piece of equipment, a new tractor, and they'll throw the operator's manual in some drawer someplace and forget about it. But this book has been used, and you can tell the man's taken great care and had great pride of this tractor over the years. It's quite a sunny day here down in the 20s, 1st of March here in 2010. We've had a pretty extremely cold winter with in the 20s nearly every day or below, and quite a bit of snow on, kind of like a winter of old we used to have years ago when the snow stayed on all winter. But back to the tractor, here's a picture. I'm going to walk up and do some close-ups. I hope the lighting is good here. It's a real bright sunny day, but you'll notice here we have the operator's manual, and also there's the hand crank over on the right fender, still on the tractor, and hardly ever used, but the crank's there in case you need it. And then another thing that's with this tractor, a lot of them get lost. I hope you can see this. It's not showing up real well on my camera, but in the toolbox is the original spin-out wheel adjustment tool. There's 3 pieces there, and back then you could adjust the wheels in and out for cultivators or whatever you're putting on the tractor, corn pickers and things. And those tools are still in that toolbox, and most of those over the years on other tractors have been taken out, lost, or used for something else, but they're still here with this tractor. Now, much work has been done to restore this tractor to its original appearance, and along with 2 full pages of the parts that were put into the tractor, I'll tell you about some of the things we've done to it. It's had a complete engine overhaul, new sleeves, pistons, and rings. All the engine's been gone through. New clutch, new brakes, belts, hoses, fluids, the lights and all the knobs. All new tires and tubes. The rear rims have been replaced with new spin-out rims. The old ones actually were not too bad yet. I've seen them much worse, rusted out and rotted out from the calcium chloride in them over the years. But the original rims on here weren't all that bad, but we did replace them because it's kind of hard to make the old ones look as sharp as the rest of the tractor. And all the gauges were installed. We did also install a new traction booster gauge, which I'll try and get here in the picture. Most of the gauges you get nowadays are non-functioning, and they're expensive, but this one here is the original functioning type. There's a place where you can send it in and get it rebuilt. Kind of expensive, but this has the original working traction booster gauge on it. And some of the other things we've done, the new tie rod ends, a new ignition, all the ignition parts have been replaced, radiator have been repaired. The lift cylinders, all the old tractors, the lift arm cylinders will leak some oil, and these have all been rebuilt with all new parts there. And all new wiring with the lift latches on the back have been rebuilt with new springs and that. And the original steering wheel is still on the tractor. Now, we didn't replace it because it's still in pretty good condition. Had a little crack or two in it, but we covered it with one of our tractor steering wheel covers, and it makes it look real nice. And it's kind of nice to grab a hold of a steering wheel cover. It gives you a little cushion there. And this tractor doesn't have power steering, but it does steer real well. Back then, the power steering was optional. A lot of fellas didn't want to order that extra option, just like my dad's tractor. It was another, whatever it was, $7,500. He didn't want to pay the extra money for power steering because the old WD and the tractors before never had power steering and didn't need it. So anyway, that's a lot of the things we've done to it. And just looking here to see if there's anything else. This tractor really is pretty much all original. Like I said, we did replace the rear fenders, and these tractors came out with a 6-volt electrical system, and we replaced the 6-volt system with a new 12-volt system, a new battery, and we had the generator converted to 12 volts. A lot of the fellas will stick an alternator on there and make it look kind of odd, but it looks like the original 6-volt generator, but it is a 12-volt system. And we've pretty well got this tractor all completed now. We got to do a few detail things on it yet, but as soon as this snow melts off and the weather clears up here a little bit later in the month, we plan to deliver this tractor back to the Cook family farm, where it will be spending its retirement years in the shed there, and for the family to enjoy and to parade and to think back of the old memories of the Allis Chalmers WD-45 that their dad bought brand new back in the mid-50s. Thank you. There was one more thing I failed to mention this tractor has, was an option back then, and kind of a handy accessory. Jerry's dad ordered, he might have gotten it later and put on the tractor, but it was the tilt seat bracket. If you'll notice right here underneath the seat, the wire can be released and it needs to be up, but the seat can be tilted over to make it easier access to get on and off the tractor. And sometimes after you've ridden on a tractor for several hours, it's nice to be able to stand up. Now that may not be an OSHA approved standard today, but back then, just to rest your legs and your seat a little bit, you could stand up on the platform back here. But if you had this tilt seat bracket, it allowed you to do that. And I forgot to mention that earlier, but that's kind of a neat little accessory that's on his dad's tractor.